a new enum here, which will look like this. So this will be E. Then we have enum.name, enum. Should we have a prefix on here? So this will be just like E teams, which let's just do E BS underscore enum name for bracket sac. So what we want is for every enum.values as value, we want to do these things. Okay, so that'll make all of our enums that we can reference. Okay, so we've got that. So we need to add this to our targets. So enums, Dashkin shared enums.h, Dashkin. Shared enums.cpp. Do we have anything in the .cpp? This will just be Dashkin shared enums.h. So there's nothing in the CPP that we need to worry about. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we have our C++ generation for our enums. Which we do. And let's make sure they all compile. Alright, so we got our enum names screwed up. So this shouldn't be E, this should be... I think it should be like that. Yeah, so teams underscore red and like all this stuff. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Pre-game, in-game, sudden death starting. Yeah, okay. Liking that. Alright, what are some other things that we're going to want? We're going to want some quick and easy methods to be able to snag stuff, right? So we're going to want, like, for every enum here, we're going to want like some utils, so we can easily get string names for these as well as from integer sort of stuff. Can we add... Oh, look at that. I just totally... No, that's fine. Alright. Can we add functions to these things? Like if it's an enum class. Oh, we probably can't. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to have, what, a uObject class, like that. So what's our format for that going to be? Alright, so this is going to be u, and then the statics, and it'll be like so. Let's make some public u functions here that we can actually use. Alright, so we want a static int32 get integer get int for enum, and we want to pass in an enum. Alright, we're also going to want another static method which will be get an f string, so get string for enum. Then we're going to want get enum for int. And we'll also want get enum for string. Alright, so let's go ahead and start making our stuff here. So this is going to be our UBS enum statics, and then we're going to want the functions for it. And basically what I'm doing here is we're going to start building our actual library of auto-generation systems that will be able to tie our UI together to our game with standard utility methods for everything. So it's actually going to help us out a lot on all sorts of stuff. So we're going to try to make it correctly, try to start doing that sort of thing instead of just getting stuff out the door. We're going to need to start doing a little bit more than that. Otherwise, we just running into walls. The other thing that we're going to add here is the unknown value to everything. So we don't have to, let's just do undefined instead of unknown, just because we might have an unknown state on something, but I doubt we'll have an undefined state on something. Alright, so we want to switch on the value, and we want to list, let's see, enum Dot values is value. So it'll be case EBS value value uppercase. Can we just cast these things in? Alright, so this is going to be switch. The case is going to be the value number, so do we want the iterator? Let's see, what is it? This is free marker, so this free marker list index number. How do we get that? We have counter. Okay, so what is counter? This is built in, returns a 1 based index where the iteration. Why does it have to be? Okay, index is what we want. So this is going to be value subindex. And by default, we're going to return this undefined. Okay, next. Now this is getting an integer for this thing. We implemented the getEnum for int function there. Okay, so this one is actually the opposite of that. Whoops. I guess this will just be return 0. I guess we do want the counter here. That's pretty nuts actually, since it's 1 based. That's a little trickier than I usually like to be. I don't like to be tricky with my code. I like to be real stupid with the code that I write. And getEnum for string. This one's going to be slower, so it's just what it is. Because we can't switch off of strings in C++ land because of reasons, so we have to do some if-else checks. Alright, so let's list every enum here. Yeah, if it's reasons, it should be fine. There's no problem here. Basically because of how strings work in C++. They're like, you can switch off integers because it makes a jump table, but strings are not integers, so they're not numbers. You can't treat them like numbers, so certain optimizations just do not work. Okay, so let's see if that generates. Man, I didn't make a mistake. Awesome. So we'll generate that and then see if the code compiles. Alright, so we've got our UBS team statics, it's a U object. We have our static things, get int for enums, string, get enum for int, with our enum, Dashkin shared enums generated, and our generated shared enums code looks like this. Let's just start compiling. And we'll see if we screwed everything up or not. And we just gotta wait for it. So while waiting, I'll just be doing some other stuff. And why don't I actually go ahead and run the heat, whoops. I want the fill level tick data thing to run. Teams underscore undefined. Oh, I didn't put EBS teams on the front of that. Oh yeah, and these need to not be that. Alright. Which thing? Alright, so get enum for int needs to have the namespace in front. And the return of get enum for string needs to return the actual enum value, so we're looking at this guy. So I wanted to take a look at the heat maps from the plate test, or all the stuff that was happening earlier today with the other stream, right? So let's take a look at it. This was from Lindelin's stream and earlier today. So we might see some interesting data in here. It's like ball position was all over the place. Alright, well that makes sense. That thing's kind of screwed up anyway. Player hits are kind of what we'd expect. It looks like that's interesting that there's a lot of ball hits. Like previous heat maps have not had many ball hits in the middle here. It's been like all next to the goal. So this would be more newer players probably are hitting the ball all over the hell of the place. Let's see. Red always gets overlaid over blue. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Same thing for Foggy Night. We got a lot of ball hits in there. And, hey, people actually played the frickin' training level for once. And some people found that there's a ball over somewhere. I don't know where that is, though. And it looks like people got stuck for a hell of a long time down in the damn canyon. Though these blue team markers are, that's a bot. So somebody spawned a bot inside of the training level, and it just went and got stuck in the canyon. I'm guessing that's Adam. Let's see, if we take it overall, we had equal numbers of hits against the ball as hits against players. Well, that's interesting. So new players here, we're not hitting each other nearly as much as... Yeah, so again, the pop-up is the thing that's the most used out of everything. Slide is not used very much. Ground pound, not used very much. So it's really just pop-ups and punches. And it looks like new players do not hit each other nearly as much. Like what we were seeing with previous stats in heat maps was... Like usually a 2-to-1 sort of number. Well, I guess not so much. Maybe these are all new people. Let me see. Maybe it's just the matches where... Yeah, like if we look at some of these past ones, we see a lot more hits on people than on the ball. So it looks like new players don't hit each other very often, and players who've been playing for a while just beat the absolute shit out of each other with no mercy. Or it's literally all EG, and he throws the entire data off for everybody playing at the moment. So let's see if we fixed our compile errors here. Not all control paths return a value. Well, that is absolute horseshit, because literally we've got default here returning 0. So you're wrong, C++. You're just not very good at figuring it out. Because a default means if there's nothing there... Alright, if you're going to be a pain in the ass, then I'm just going to not use default. So I'm just going to put a return without having it in the switch. How about that? You happy now, compiler? That can't detect language-specific things? Because if you're not happy, then that means that you have some sort of understanding of emotions, and that's probably a problem if my compiler has feelings. We're going to need to get that looked at. Yeah, it was actually pretty funny earlier today. When I basically woke up and went downstairs, and Adam's like, "Hey, I'm having trouble with game codes." And I was like, I at first had thought he had sent out like a bunch of game codes to people. Yeah, the Singularity is here. It's a shitty Windows compiler, and it's pissed. So yeah, I basically woke up and went downstairs, and Adam was like, "Hey, this person's gonna be playing our game. Want to give out codes and all this stuff?" But I think I screwed it all up, and I was like, "Oh God, did he send out like 100 code emails to people, and like all the codes are busted, and now we're gonna have to like go back and send like an apology email, and we'll have these like dangling bullshit codes that don't work forever haunting our inbox." He's like, "No, no, no, just the codes didn't work when I tried them." I was like, "Oh, thank God, dude. Okay, I need to like go get something to eat because I just woke up. I can't deal with this right now." All right, so our enums are all compiling, which is excellent. And what I want to do is I want to change our runtime include so that everything includes the enums first. So we don't have to. Nah, fuck it. Let's not. Let's be not stupid. All right, so we've got the C++ for the enums finished. Let's get the JavaScript version of the enums doing what we want them to do. The fun of being the go-to guy. No, it's just like I wrote a whole bunch of tools and shit, and because I'm the only person that uses them, like they don't get too much usability testing, right? So whenever Adam's using something, he's like the first person who's ever used something that somebody else has made most of the time. So he's, he'll look at it and be like, I have no fucking idea what any of this does. Do I click the run button to run it? And that might sound like a really dumb question. You'd be like, of course, Adam, you just hit the fucking run button to do it. But that's not always. Life is not always as simple as like hit the. It's like whatever that dude in Hawaii, like, let's send the missile defense warning button. Do I hit the send or the not send? And you're like, well, hit the not send. It'd be like, okay, not send. Fucking send shit. Ah. Oh, you hit the don't not send button, you fucking dumbass. Be right back, putting my kid in the storm drain. Christ. Let's see. We want to make the JavaScript version of this. This will be in the template. So we want to go to generation, templates, Dashkin game. We want to make a new one called JS. We probably want a shared folder and then enums as another folder. So we're going to want the copyright and file start. Really just the file start and end. Yeah, and that'll be enough. Okay, so we want file start.js and file end.js. So let's go ahead and get these things running. So we don't need to include anything. And this will be, all modifications will be overridden. We just want this big stupid banner at the top. File end, same thing. We'll just make it a little bit smaller just because we can. Okay, so it'll be file start and file end, and then we need our enums.js. Good thing I just closed my folder. So we'll add our enums.js, and what we want to do in here is do some of that. And that was actually pretty cool today to wake up to, hey, we got somebody actually playing the game. They want to hand out codes. And then, because, I've been on a lot of game projects for a very long time and, haven't really launched a game for a while. and to have people actually out there playing it and being excited for it is like, that's why I'm in the chair working on shit. So that feels pretty cool to have that sort of stuff start happening with this game, because it's not like I left a whole bunch of money and a stable job to go build something that's really a horrible life decision in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, Mom, I just quit my really good job at a well-respected company, full benefits. I'm just gonna go live in a basement for a couple years working on, this game where you hit this fat bird around into a soccer goal, and then we'll probably make no money with that. Sounds like a great decision. I'm glad you're taking initiative with your life. Yeah, me too. Goes in the next room. Our son is a fucking idiot. You just figured that out? Alright. So this is going to be the generation file. I need the... Yeah, I already have it open. Okay, good. So this is going to be the JavaScript file. And it's going to be templates Dashkin game, JS, enums. This is called enums.js, and it's going to go into Dashkin game, JS, enums.js, I believe. Okay. So that should generate the file. So let's just make sure it generates, just to do one thing, and it didn't generate. Why did it get all pissed off? Error reading file is string enums/enums.h. Yeah, it's because it's not enums.h, it's enums.js. Okay, it looks like it templated that out. And that's what our enums.js looks like, which is absolutely correct. So we need our script that moves all this crap over to move our stuff over. Where is that? So it's going to be in scripts development, generate code.bat. Is that it? Sounds like it's it. Alright, so we got mirroring to various sources, so we're grabbing CPP and we're throwing it into our generated shit on new dir. Alright, so mirroring to the various sources, so that'll mirror it to C++. We want to take the JS files and we want to move them to the Dashkin, Dashkin UI. I think it's scripts, and then we'll have generated. Yeah. So it's gonna be Dashkin UI scripts generated. And we don't need to generate project files. And on their new dir is not going to be there. So we just need to have perforce do it. So let's just do echoing CPP files. This will be, mirroring, copying, whatever. Copying CPP file, copying JS files. So let's see how that works. So copying CPP, nothing to do. Reconciling enums.js with perforce. Enums.js has been added and scripts generated, which is this file here. Alright, so enums got successfully written. So what we want to do now is we want to create our enum classes in JavaScript, And we also want to add those enum classes. We want to add this stuff to our page. So how do we want this to look? Well, it'll look somewhat like this. It'll be like, we'll list out all these things as enum types. This is going to be, we want to use the same naming sort of convention, so like, you know, EBS. I mean, do we really need the enum name at the front though? Like, you could just do like this, and that might actually save us a lot of typing across the board. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. So, that should save us a bit of typing all over the place. I'm actually feeling a lot better about this now that this needs to be uppercase. I'm actually feeling a lot better about this whole task thing here. So we want these integers. Yeah, okay, so this is going to be like the, what, value counter? Yeah. And then we also want this, this dot undefined equals 0. And then we also want some functions in here for getting values out. So the syntax for that is, we'll do prototype-based inheritance in JavaScript. So it's going to be get, so we'll deal with integers for everything. So we'll have a get string for enum, and this will be value here. So we can just do switch off of value, and we can do all these cases. Do we have switches in JavaScript? I mean, it's highlighting it, so I'm going to assume yes. So the case is going to be this guy, so it'll be case this return get string for enum. So we're returning the string value for this, which will be, I guess, just, what do we put it over here? Just the value as text. So just like that. And then we're also going to want the get enum for int. Well, it already is. Yeah, so I think we just need get string for enum, and everything else is just integers, so it doesn't matter. It's like get enum for enum. No, we'll just be dealing with it like this, so should be good enough. Alright, so EBS underscore teams undefined. Get string for enum. We have game state, get string for enum. That should work. So let's add this stuff to our index HTML file so we can load it up. Alright, so we're going to want globals. Before we load in our globals, we're going to load in our scripts /generated/enums.js. Let's make sure this is actual code that is working. So if we go to our console, looks like it all worked. Awesome. Is that how it looks like in the game? Yeah, it is. Alright, good. Okay, so enums are done. So let's mark it off. That is today. So an autogen system for objects. Alright, so we're going to need objects here that we can actually pass back and forth that are also generated. I'm kind of making a separate entire thing that I don't really... Like, I already have a whole object definition master system, which is just gigantic, but I don't necessarily want to use it for this. But I kind of do need to use it for this, don't I? I'm just going to have to. Alright, let's just... Alright, so we do have generate code, and that does do things. So I shouldn't have to do a whole hell of a lot here to get everything to work. Like, I've got all the enums and everything else. I can just... That's a whole bunch of extra shit that we don't need. Like, it pulls in too much. Let's see if... Grr. And it might not work for everything we want. Yeah, we don't want to support everything for this since these are simple objects. All right, so maybe I shouldn't pull everything in. So let's just see what we can do without pulling it in. If we need objects, then these objects need to have some sort of format that we can declare. So why don't we just go ahead and start trying to go through it simply without making it too incredibly insane. So we'll go to game data, we'll go to objects, and let's just make, I guess objects.json already exists. Maybe we should just do game objects. .json, let's just try that. So what are some game objects that we're going to have? So these need to be simple objects. They can contain other objects, but they have to be qualified use structs or something like that. Like everything that we make here has to be a use struct like these. They have to be real simple, otherwise they get fucked up. So our objects should be an array. Our objects should have a name. So why don't we just go ahead and make this object, like dedicated server options, in this system. So we'll have a name, then we'll have variables, and each variable has a name and a type. Now types don't matter in JavaScript, they're just things. But we could have a default value in there. So we do need a type in C++ land. We don't need a type in other places. Okay, this is going to look like name, game name. We're going to have type, fstring, and we're going to have default of just empty quotes. Okay. I think we're starting to get somewhere. No, default empty quotes, we want like, I mean, maybe we could just have like CPP, text, blah, and we'd have another thing for JS, which is quotes, like that. Would that be the worst thing to do for everything? It's like, here's the C++ version of the object. Is that how we escape quotes? Maybe I should just use, I probably have to use the other way. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, and the type there is probably easier to deal with. Now, the issue is if we have things defined in order, we want to always guarantee the order because C++ needs to reference those objects. So it should be okay as long as these things are simple. Alright, then we got time limit, team size max, score to win, game port, bank import, listed publicly, allow team swap, map path, admin pass, and allow all players to change settings. Maybe I should just have a type here? and we'll just make it, we could just do string. Alright, yeah, let's look up our object types real quick. It's in generation. Type lookup for like C++. We've got like string is going to be like F string and all this other crap. Okay, so we can just do this, and we'll probably be able to get away with it with a bit of clever stuff. I don't like being clever though. We can use our type system without using our whole object system, is what I'm basically saying. Okay, so if we have all these things, then we can look up the type in the type lookup and replace that. So if we go over to our, we need to go into here. We want to grab, this will be CPP objects, and we're going to want Dashkin shared objects.cpp and .h. So let's just get rid of all this stuff, most of this stuff I should say. So we're going to want to include the Dashkin shared objects.h file. Alright, this one should include Dashkin shared objects generated. We also are going to need to include Dashkin shared enums.h, because we probably will reference the enums from inside of here somehow. So we're not going to go through every enum. What we're going to go through is the game objects JSON. So this is going to be for objects underscore game objects dot objects as object. Alright, so it's going to be something like this. It's going to be like so. It's going to be a blueprint type. We're going to have F because everything is going to be a struct in here. This is going to be object.name. We'll have generated body, and then we'll list every object.variables as variable. And this is where we get into problems. So let's check if variable is null or if variable exists. Free marker. Check if the variable exists. Use question mark. Alright, so if variable question mark, let's see, complex. And then else. So if it's a complex type, we're just going to say variable.complex and then variable dot name, and that'll do that. So we want U properties for everything, so blueprint read write on absolutely every variable. And if it's a simple type, then we want to get the type lookup for that. So I need to go into my other ones and see how the hell to actually do that. Alright, so s.getDeclaration variable types true. I gotta go dig into my Java code to see what this really does. Alright, so passing in an object variable. Alright, it's not really what we want. Type lookup file though is, so we have types. So that's our lookup variable. Types.get variable.type.name. Okay. That'll give us a type for everything. So it's going to be types.get, and then it'll be variable.type. And then I guess just type. Let's see what that would look like. So if we have C++, we have type will be f-string. And then these are the array types. Alright, so what we want to know is if it's a complex type, we'll just take whatever the hell they typed in there, and that should be good enough. But we definitely need array support for like array of integers or array of f-strings or something. So we need to know if it's an array. So if we go into our game objects, I guess we could do like array is true or something. Alright, it's else if. So the variable.array